Hey everybody, I'm Jimmy Rance. A little while ago, I made a short, and unfortunately for me, I hit the button before I could complete my last sentence, which I was just trying to say, do you have any idea how embarrassing this is? Today's been a day of reflection, really. Remember, for those of you who saw the video, I kind of explained about this shirt and the emotional aspects of this shirt concerning my wife and myself. And this was the last shirt that my wife saw me in before she died. It was the shirt that I was wearing the last time I saw her before she died. So I put the shirt away. I almost threw it away. And 7 months, almost 7 months today, I put the shirt on for the first time because I'm trying to heal. Well, I just feel like talking. I don't know if this is going to be a 10-minute thing or if it's going to be a 2-hour thing. I don't know right now. I've tried to tell this story a few times and I have failed every time. It's a super long story. It's a true story. It's the story, believe it or not, of about love. The whole story is about love, even though it seems like there was some evil intentions involved. There really never was evil intentions involved, I don't think. I just can't see it because I'm really talking about my marriage, okay? It's the greatest catfish story ever told. You know, a lot of times we think of when a person's catfished, it really means that somebody's trying to do something to get money out of you, but that's not always true. They may be trying to get a relationship with you. They can catfish you that way too. Their intentions are good, but in the end, it ends up hurting somebody. In this case, I was the one who really got hurt. I really did. This is a hard story to tell, but it's a true story. And again, I would never, ever, even though this story is just filled with ups and downs and ins and out, and you may think, well, how did you not know? You can't know. You can't know. All this stuff that I'm going to kind of tell you, you don't question things. Whenever your wife tells you something, you don't really question it because you love them, you trust them. So when they tell you things, you just believe it. Usually. A long time ago when I was doing my Jimmy Rance thing, a long time ago, back in 2012 or somewhere around there, there was this lady and she really liked me. And I could tell that she really liked me. And her name was, and I'm not gonna really mention names here, okay? But I'll mention some. Some of you from the old days may remember who I'm talking about, but it doesn't matter. That's irrelevant. Oh, and another thing, when I tell this story, don't come back giving me legal advice. Oh, you should have done this. Oh, you have every right to do this. Oh, you should have done. No, I have already talked to attorneys that deal professionally with estates and wills. I've already done all the homework, so just spare me with all of your advice, okay? This is my story. Again, I'm telling it not to hurt anybody. I'm not trying to crucify my wife because I love my wife. Even though all of this crap happened, as time has gone by, I can see why I think she kind of did what she did, and I can also see why she had to do what she had to do. My marriage, come to find out, was filled with a lot of secrets. A lot of secrets that I had no idea was taking place. Again, I trusted my wife. I love my wife. It was the greatest marriage I've ever had. I really mean that. Well, anyway, back to the story. Back in 2012 or 13, whenever it was, there was this lady that really had a crush on me. A long time ago, I used to do what was called Google Hangouts. It's where a bunch of us, we met online and we talked basically to an audience. And in the audience, they could participate in the conversation with us. We called it a sidebar. It was like a sidebar on the side of the chat. And we could communicate back and forth. Well, this one lady really liked me. I knew she liked me. I really knew it. And for years, not a day or two, but years, I knew this lady liked me. I knew this lady was a nurse. And this lady was also, from information that was told to me, she was a very wealthy lady. Very good in business. Which that's a whole nother story I'm not going to go into, not really. And this lady who liked me, she had 2 sons. But I also found out that this lady was very sick. At least that was my understanding. She was very, very sick. And just to give this person a name, a username, her name online was Birdie. Okay? Birdie. Well, there was another lady that lived across the street from Birdie, and she was also a nurse. And they were like the best of friends. They went to college together. They worked together. Just wonderful friends. And this other person used to talk to me also. Her name was Red Magnolia. That was her username. And Red Magnolia used to tell me kind of how much Birdie was just crazy about me. And then that was about all she kind of talked to me about, just weird. There's a point to all of this. If you want to hear the story, just listen. You don't run into this kind of crap every day, I promise you. There is a story and a plot here. If you want to listen to a story, that's all I'm doing. I'm sharing a true story with you to the best of my ability. I may get some things out of order because it's been a long time since back in 2012 and now. A lot of things, it's hard to remember every little step. And I'm not going to tell every little step, or it'd take 3 days to make this video. But anyway, I received a phone call one night. Or maybe I'm wrong already. I'm wrong. I received an email is what I received, a message that I need to call Birdie because Birdie is literally on her deathbed. And Birdie wanted to talk to Jimmy Rance. So they gave me the number and I called Birdie. And whenever I called, it was the first time I ever talked to Birdie, on a telephone. I've talked to her typing back and forth and, being in these live stream chats. But this was real serious stuff because someone told me that she was dying. She had heart trouble, serious heart trouble. Well, whenever I talked to Birdie, Birdie said, Jim, she thanked me so much for calling. She said, it was just wonderful that I called. She thanked me so much. Her voice was very weak. And she told me, she goes, Jim, I have 2 sons. And my 2 sons are very young. They're very vulnerable and they're not very experienced being online. And I'm asking you as a friend if you would kind of look out for them. Will you just kind of take care of them in your Jimmy Rance kind of way, because not very many people mess with me. I think they knew better. Really. And I told Birdie, you have my word. You have my word. I will do everything in my power to try to communicate with your sons, to get to know your sons, and I'll try to protect them the best way I can. give them information, whatever I can do. Because Birdie told me they don't have a father. They're young and they don't know or have anybody to turn to. And so I'm hoping you'll step in and help them. Because Birdie thought I was a good, moral, decent person, which I am. Well, I got a message many, many hours later that Birdie died. And that really devastated me because I knew Birdie from online for years. So at that point, the next day on YouTube, I made an announcement that Birdie passed away. And all the people were sad. Now, Birdie did one thing. She sent me a picture not long before she supposedly died. And she said, in real life, this is pretty much what I would look like. So she sent me this picture. And boy, she was beautiful. But it wasn't really Birdie. It wasn't a picture of Birdie. It was a picture of this professional lady fisherman. But Birdie was trying to say, I kind of look like this lady. So you can envision this in your mind. This is kind of what I look like. So whenever I was telling everybody, on the Hangout about her passing, I shared a picture that Birdie shared of me. And everybody thought I was trying to pass off that this was Birdie. No, and I had said that this was a picture that was like Birdie. And so everybody tried to make me out to be like I'm a liar. And I wasn't. Well, the next part of this, let's move on a little bit. The next part of this was about her two sons. They did contact me. And I talked to them. And we talked to them for hours. The youngest son, we'll just call him the youngest son. I don't want to mention their names for their protection or for their operational security. But their sons became so close to me, you wouldn't believe. I almost, as time went by, I felt like a father figure. The youngest son basically, well, he kind of loved me as like a child would love their father. That's the way he loved me, if you know what I mean. Never saw them physically, ever. Not even to this day. But we've communicated hour upon hour on the internet every day. Every day. The strange thing about it was, remember when I told you that Birdie was very wealthy? And the boys told me that Mom had like a bunch of Post-it notes. And on these Post-it notes were little notes that she instructed these boys to make sure that Jimmy Rance gets these things. And I told the boys, listen, I don't want anything. I don't need anything. I didn't really know your mom other than just through the internet, through live streams and talking like comments. You know how you and I talk here on comments. We talk. And after a while, you can build up a kind of a relationship, a friendly relationship. Well, that's what me and Birdie did. So I told him, look, I'm not interested in, things. I have everything. I got a house. I got everything I need. I don't need anything, but thank you. And they said, no, Mom wanted you to have these things. And these boys knew my address. And all of a sudden, UPS started showing up at my front door. And to my surprise, even after I said I didn't want anything, I started getting all kind of packages. And these packages, I brought them inside, of course, and I opened them up. And these packages would come for quite a while. They were different gifts, mostly gifts like guitars. This Birdie person was a fantastic guitarist. I've listened to Birdie play, and boy, she was great. Well, these boys sent me some of Birdie's guitars. I mean, nice guitars. Telecasters from Fender, Stratocasters, Ovations, 12-string guitars, all kinds of stuff. Expensive, nice guitars. So I had no reason to doubt that this Birdie wasn't, a wealthy lady. They sent all kinds of stuff. They sent me a diamond ring. There's God knows how much that was worth. Sent me a beautiful diamond studded, like one of those, what do you call them, like a bracelet, just diamonds all around it with a matching diamond ring to go with it. Just diamonds that went all around the ring. And I treasured these things because it was something that Birdie owned, and Birdie was a friend of mine. Well, there's another segment to the story. I know I'm leaving stuff out. Please hang in there with me. I know it's a long story, but I want to say it and I want to get it over with. I'm telling this story because I am trying to heal, okay? I'm almost at the 7-month period of Bobby's death. And all of this relates to Bobby, so just hang in there, please, if you're interested. Well, I got closer and closer and closer. Especially, I got so close to the youngest son, of Birdie's youngest son. He even wanted to take my last name. He even wanted to move to Colorado. We got that close, really. Now, the other brother, we were pretty good friends. We weren't as close, though, as like me and the youngest one. But anyway, Birdie knew I was a prepper. And their sons told me a little secret. They used to call me Pops. They said, Pops, Mom owns 29 acres and she has an underground bunker that she bought, and it is fully stocked with water, food, all kind of stuff. But the property that she owns is in Ecuador. And Mom wants you to have it. I'm like, these bunkers are like $150,000. And I told him right off the bat, look, I will never go to Ecuador for any reason. If the crap hits the roof here in America, I'm still not going down there. Thank you so much for this generous thing, this gift from your mom to me, but I can't accept it. I can't do it. I want you boys to keep it or sell it or do something. You keep this property. You keep this underground stock bunker, all that. Thank you, but I'm not taking it. And I didn't. Again, folks, I've never asked for nothing on the internet ever from anybody. Well, we were talking, and Birdie had some really good expats that were down in Ecuador. I guess it was a group of people that went down there. They were worried about the United States, so they fled America, and they went there to try to feel protected. Well, one of Birdie's friends owned a raw fruits and vegetable business, and he needed land. And so after Birdie passed away, this man and his wife went to Birdie's 2 sons to ask if he could buy the land, the property and everything. And the boys talked to me about it, and I said, man, that sounds like a wonderful idea. If that's what you guys want to do. And the 2 boys told me, look, this is one of Mama's friends, good friends. Mom would love this. Like, if you don't want the land, this is probably the second best thing she would want to do. So the bottom line is, one of the sons, the youngest son, had to fly all the way down to Ecuador to try to take care of the business, to try to sell this 29 acres plus the bunker and everything to this raw fruits and vegetable guy, because he needed to expand his business. He needed the land to grow more fruits and vegetables. Understandable. And so the way I understand it is that the the land, the real estate, everything, it was worth about $1 million is what I was told. But the boys said that they're going to sell it for $500,000. And they talked to me about it, and I said, whatever you guys want to do, that's fine, man. $500,000 is a lot of money to put in your bank account between, you two. That would take care of you nicely. So the youngest son went all the way down to Ecuador to make this deal happen. And the whole time that the youngest son was down there, he was still constantly on the internet with me, kind of talking to me like we always did every day. Again, this young fella in his early 20s, he treated me like I was his dad. He treated me with nothing but respect. And I appreciated that. Hang on. There's more to the story. It all ties in. Hang on. Well, come to find out that the youngest son also had the same exact heart condition that his mama had, that Birdie had. And so there was something that happened that the older brother told me about. He said my brother was down there and he, was trying to make arrangements to sell this property, which I think they did. And so they were, I guess the person that bought the land and the youngest son, they went out, they were going to go out on a little boat trip. Well, they didn't even get out of the harbor, and the boat had slammed into Birdie's youngest son's leg. And that caused a big medical problem for the youngest son. And they had to get him to the hospital quickly. The only problem is the only hospital was hours away, but he did finally make it into the hospital. And when he was in the hospital, I was told that he threw a clot to the lung. And just before he died, he was laying in the bed. And just seconds before he died, his brother told me, he said, "Pops," he sat up in bed and he opened his eyes. His brother was there with him when he found out he was in the hospital. His younger brother was in the hospital. He flew down there. He says, I was in the room with him and he sat up and he said, "Pop, Pop, Pop." That's what he called me. Like he was calling out to me. He laid back down. He took his last breath. His older brother was devastated. He contacted me, his older brother. I was devastated. So I've lost Birdie, and now I've lost Birdie's youngest son. And the older son I wasn't really as close to. We didn't have the same relation, but I still tried to help all I could. In any kind of emotional, anything he needed, I would have helped him with. I was that close to this family. So then, here's where the story's going to change. Hang in there with me. I know it's a long story. I apologize. But it's my story. It's a true story. And I want to tell it. I'm just thinking. This is a tough story for me to tell. So anyway, there was a funeral. And I had spoken something online. And at this funeral, at this celebration of life, they took the recording of what I said and they played it to all these people. Of me talking about Birdie's youngest son. The way a father would talk if he lost a child. And therefore he was put in this above the ground grave thing, or whatever you call them. Well, Birdie's friend, Red Magnolia, they lived right across the street. So the Red Magnolia, the friend of Birdie's, went to the oldest son and said, listen, would you contact Jimmy Rance and ask him permission if I could write him a letter? So the oldest son came to me and asked me, hey, Red Magnolia wants to write you a letter. Is that okay, Pops? And I went, sure, absolutely. Well, Red Magnolia wrote me the most beautiful letter I've ever read in my life. She kept talking about Birdie and Birdie, how Birdie loved me, and oh, everything. If I could have met Birdie in person, it would have been like fireworks. It would have been like the greatest love story on the face of the earth. And so I wrote Red Magnolia back a nice letter thanking her for the beautiful letter that she wrote me, and she wrote me back, and I wrote her back, and we both wrote each other back and back and back. Well, to make a long story short, me and Red Magnolia talked for over a year. We literally fell in love with each other. And Red Magnolia flew out here to Colorado to be with me. And I'm gonna make this story a little shorter. The bottom line here, there's a lot more to it, but I'm gonna just speed it up and leave a lot out. But whenever we got married, we lived together a year before we got married. We wanted to make sure everything was cool. We were together over a decade. Well, Bobby told me her birthday. Bobby told me what her maiden name was. She told me about her mom and dad. She told me that she had a sister and they weren't really that close, and that the sister was like 10 years older than Bobby. So there was an age gap. And so Bobby and I got married, and I mean, my God, it was like peas and carrots. It was a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful marriage. Bobby told me, she goes, now listen, as you know, I'm a nurse and retired, and she says, I have a 401k plan at such and such financial institution. And if anything ever happened to me, I want you to go to this company, you call them or whatever, prove who you are, and all this money will be transferred into your bank account. I had a bank account. Bobby had her own bank account too. So she gave me explicit instructions on what to do. And I never thought, I didn't think, I'm like, look, I'm 10 years older than you. I'm going to go before you. She said, I also have money in my bank account. And all you have to do is walk into the bank, prove who you are, show them like a death certificate. The money will be immediately transferred to you. I didn't like hearing all that stuff, but I listened. You know, you have to do grown-up things when you're married. I mean, I made provisions for my wife. If I died first, you know, she would get everything I own. Well, let's move it on up to last September. The beginning of the month, Bobby and I had pneumonia. We went to the hospital, and they both diagnosed us with pneumonia, and they gave us both a Z-Pack. We came home. I took the Z-Pack. Bobby took the Z-Pack, and I got pretty well, kind of. I'm still suffering from things today, I think, that has something to do with that pneumonia back then in last September. That's why I've been going to pulmonary and doctors. Tomorrow I have a doctor's appointment with my regular physician, my primary care physician. But anyway, whenever they were x-raying Bobby, they said, man, we noticed whenever we took the x-ray kind of took a little bit more picture than is normally taken. And it caught a little glimpse of your liver, and your liver has a 4 centimeter lesion. So we kind of got a little worried instantly. So Bobby and I, we went home, like I said, took the Z-Pack, and we woke up. One morning, Bobby says, Jim, I'm having trouble breathing. So I immediately called 911, and I got her paramedics here at the house. They were here in 5 minutes. They really were. They did a great job, really a great job. They loaded up Bobby. Bobby was starting to look yellow at that point. Which is, indication that there's some trouble with the liver. So we got her to the hospital, and boy, they ran all kind of tests like you wouldn't believe. And they found out that Bobby had stage 4 colorectal cancer that immediately and rapidly progressed and spread like wildfire. It went to her liver, her spleen, her kidneys, her uterus, and her ovaries. And it got so bad. She got so weak, so bad. And she had to be medicated like you wouldn't believe. And so they had to put her on life support. So from day one that Bobby went to the hospital, the 4th day, she died. This was unexpected. Bobby, being a professional RN, did not know that she had stage 4 cancer. She was strong as a horse, really. She seemed like the epitome of good health. We had no knowledge that she had anything wrong. So she passed away on September the 26th, on my daughter's birthday, out of all days. Well, whenever a spouse dies, you have to deal with like a funeral home, and the funeral home deals with Social Security. And I turned in all the information about Bobby, her Social Security, her name, her date of birth, all that sort of thing, legal stuff. The next day, I got a call from the funeral home, and they said, Jim, the Social Security's having problems identifying who your wife is. And your wife is in the hospital in the morgue, and we cannot get her out of that hospital until Social Security can identify her. I'm like, what? So now I had to go into investigative mode, and I found out that the birth date was wrong. The only thing hanging it up was her birth date. And through investigation, that we found out that Bobby was really a year older than what she had originally told me when we first met way, way back. I had no reason to doubt that. Somebody tells you, hey, I'm such and such years old and this is my birthday. Yeah, well, are you going to question it? No, you're not going to do that. Neither did I. This was a woman I loved, and she loved me. So we got that straight. And so the funeral home told me, look, you need to, at a certain day, come and pick up your wife's ashes, and we're going to give you the death certificates and everything. And you take these death certificates, and if she had any bills or anything, any matters that need to be dealt with, you can show these people this death certificate, and it'll straighten everything out, which they were absolutely right. So my first order of business is doing exactly what Bobby told me to do, and that was to go to the bank. I proved who I was. I walked in her bank. I showed them the death certificate. I showed them everything. And I said, my wife told me to come here, and I know she has several $1,000s in the bank, and my wife told me that it would be transferred to me. Well, the lady I was talking to was the manager of the bank. And she said, I'm sorry, but there's no money for you. And I was kind of puzzled. I really don't care about the money. I really don't. And she told me that there's someone else on your wife's account, but the bank couldn't tell me who. That was very disturbing to me. So I went, okay, and I was kind of very embarrassed. I thanked the lady for helping me, and I went home. So I said, well, now that I'm doing this, I need to do what she said to do. I need to call the 401k people and deal with all of that. So I called them on the phone, told them who I was, had to prove who I was to them, which I did. And they said, Jimmy, there is no such person ever in the existence of our company done business with our company. And this was all done by Social Security number, so that's how they knew that Bobby never did business with them. So I thanked him again, and I hung up the phone, and now I'm like, what in the heck is going on? So anyway, I was going through Bobby's emails, and I got this email from this financial company that I never heard of before. And come to find out, her money was really with this company. So I called and I talked to them and blah, blah, blah. And they basically said, yeah, your wife has done business here. She has an account here, but there's no money here. And when I say money, I'm talking about, I was told about $400,000 to $500,000, okay? We're talking about a lot of money. A lot of money. Well, anyway, they told me this. They did tell me this, that what Bobby did is she rolled that money from that 401. She went to another company, and she got into some IRAs. So all the money now was converted into IRAs, and this other company said, so prove to them, like you did with us, and they'll give you the money. I said, okay. So I called and talked to those people, proved who I was, did all the legal steps that they asked me to do. And to my surprise, you know what? They said, yes, your wife does have IRA with us, a substantial amount of money. But we're sorry, but we cannot give you this money. The reason is because your wife has a beneficiary. And if you have a beneficiary, even if your wife has a will to me, if your wife has a beneficiary, the beneficiary gets the money. So again, I couldn't believe it. I mean, my wife is dead. We got problems. She's a year older than what she originally told me. I found out some other things. I found out that she told me what her maiden name was, but her maiden name was not the name she gave me. It was totally different. The bottom line here is, now this is where the first part of the story, all that I bored you with about Birdie, this is where all that comes in. I got a letter from this company that dealt with the IRA thing, and it had the name of who the beneficiary was. And the last name was the same name as Birdie's son. After some investigative work, I found out that my wife, after she died, after all this investigation, my wife was Birdie. My wife had the two sons. She told me she couldn't have children, but she had two that I didn't know about. And before she came to me, she had all this financial stuff set up, with her bank account. That's her children. Her mom's going to look out for their kids. So she made the young son the beneficiary. That's why he got all the money. I can't legally do anything about it, nor do I want to. I've already talked to attorneys about everything. And it's okay. It's okay. So her birth date was a lie. She wasn't really born in the month. She told me it was really in another month. It wasn't the right year. It was another year. My wife was Birdie. You see, after thinking and talking to some people that are a lot smarter than me, we all have agreed that when Bobby first met me, she used a pseudonym of this Birdie person. And this Birdie person, Bobby really fell in love with me. And so she created this fake persona to communicate with me. So whenever Bobby got to the point where like, man, I really want Jim. I got to get rid of this Birdie. I got to get rid of this Birdie person. I got to kill Birdie off. So this big fabricated story of about Birdie dying. And another problem was the young son. I got to get rid of the son. So remember, he went to Ecuador and he died in this accident. Threw a clot, went to his lung. He had heart trouble. All that was a lie. This was Bobby's real son. And the way I found out that Bobby had a son, this is what really kind of kicked it all off. Then I'm going to wrap this up. And I apologize, this is so long. As a husband, I have the right to try to conduct all business for Bobby. So I went in to some of her accounts, like Amazon account, and I noticed that all the time there was silver being bought and gifts and things, even children's clothes and toys, and they were being shipped. They were being shipped to this place. And I'm like, who the hell is this? I said, well, this must be one of Bobby's friends, and maybe they had a child and Bobby sent them a little silver here and there, not, just an ounce here, an ounce there, an ounce here. It adds up though. Baby clothes and toys. So what I did is I didn't know how to get a hold of this person, but I found this phone number. Every time Bobby made like a transaction, they sent it it's like to a phone number or something. And there's an address tied to the phone number, so I sent a text to this phone number and I said, look, I want to tell you something. I don't know who you are. Obviously, you're a very good friend of my wife's. And it saddens me to say that my wife passed away from cancer the other day. So if you're expecting any more letters or gifts or something, they're not going to be coming, because I'm sure you're going to be wondering, well, how come we're not getting anything anymore? It's because she passed away. The next day, I got a letter back, a text back saying, I am Bobby's son. That's when I first really found out for sure that Bobby had a son. And he tried to prove himself to me. I said, well, your mom, her birthday's on such and such. He went, no, my mom's birthday's not on this day. Her birthday is this day. And I went, no, it's not. Come to find out, he was right. And what happened, he texted me Bobby's driver's license, a copy of her driver's license in Colorado. And the whole time Bobby was here, not once did she ever tell me she got a Colorado license. She kept her home state's license. She said it's just easier that way. She didn't want to go through a bunch of hassle right now. And we said, okay, that's fine. She goes, women have the right to keep their name. They can be Bobby such and such hyphen and then my last name. Yeah, okay, no problem. So I thought Bobby had her license, and she got her license pretty quick after she first moved to Colorado, and I didn't know it. And what really got me, this is what really kind of bugged me at first, but I understand why it happened. Bobby, again, I thought Bobby was supposed to get her Social Security, let's just say in November. When I was talking to Social Security, and because Bobby was really a year older than what I thought she was Social Security ready. Social Security told me that, Mr. Jimmy Rance, your wife has been collecting Social Security since February all the way to the time of her death. So I'm really like at wit's end here, like all the lies, all the deception, the sons, the different age that she told me, the 401k, the bank account money. She told me what her maiden name was, which come to find out was not her real maiden name. She told me that her father died when he was like 63 or 65 years old. He really died when he was like 89. Said the mother died whenever she was in her early 60s, but she really died whenever she was like 79. She told me that Birdie had a brother, and the brother was dead. And that was one of the reasons that why Birdie liked me, because I reminded her of her brother so much. Come to find out, Birdie never existed. Birdie was a made-up story. So this other person, this brother that Birdie had, was really Bobby's brother that I didn't even know about. He died. And that's the story. So it's hard enough trying to get over the death of someone. But when you add in a lot of secrets that the spouse finds out after the wife passed away, you're left in a position of where you can't get any answers because she's dead. All I have is questions. Bobby thought that I would die before her and she could keep all of these secrets to herself. I think Bobby knew she had a perfect marriage with me, almost perfect marriage. I would say perfect marriage. And she didn't want to interrupt that marriage. She knew that if she told me she was getting her Social Security, that I would have known, hey, you lied to me about your age. You're older than what you told me. So now, what's your real birth date? So she would have to fess that up. And that would lead to one thing to another, and she would be exposed. And then Bobby would have thought that could have damaged and destroyed our marriage, because Bobby would have thought that since if I found out all this stuff after all these years have passed, that I wouldn't trust her anymore. And maybe I would divorce her. So rather than rock the boat, she was probably hoping against all hope that I would die first so she could keep all these secrets to herself. She loved me. This is a love story, people. She created a fictitious person to chat with me because she was too scared to do it herself. And once she got more and more and more invested and involved with me, she had to kill off Birdie and she had to kill off the son. And then she had to use her magic to come in and basically tell me that Birdie told Bobby, I want you to love him more than I love him. She kind of told me that. I have all the emails that me and Bobby's ever wrote before we got married. And when I go back and read them sometime, not often, but there's that Birdie person mentioned, Birdie's mentioned, the sons, Birdie's sons are mentioned, blah. All of that was a lie. It was fabricated. Bobby had no other choice but to get rid of them. And then Bobby did her best to hook up with me as Bobby. And we did. That's my story. I'm Jimmy Rance. What a story.